We're on. Hello. So I strictly have this here because I'm not manning the camera, and also I don't speak, so my movement is probably going to be really limited, but I needed a good central place to stay, and I have water. So anyway, I wanted to talk about, as you can see, what it's like being 20 in 2023, because that is the one thing that I know literally none of you can know, because none of you are 20. And as you can see, sorry if there are any grammar errors, blame the school system. So anyway, this is gonna be, I guess, kind of brutal, but hopefully, oh, I gotta set my timer, hold on. No one's timing me, so I gotta time myself because Vicky's not here. Oh, you're timing me? Sick, okay, cool, that works for me. Cool and epic. Wicked, yeah, there you go. So anyway, the first thing is simply it's kind of rough. It's good in some areas and bad in some, and that's why I'm going to cover a bunch of stuff here. But did you know that in 1997, a Big Mac meal, simple burger, fries, drink, what you would still get today, from McDonald's would cost you $4.59, which sounds crazy today because that's less than $5. Like, you can get that pretty easily. Now items that are all the exact same and are all very inexpensive still cost over, well, not over, but $9 in other states. Here, if you've ever been to McDonald's here, you would know it's over about $12, which is a little ridiculous to me. But that is just a small part of inflation currently, and it just keeps getting worse the more you start to go up in cost of things, such as homes. It is everywhere. It really is. If you tried to buy a home here or really anywhere, you would know it's very expensive. And there hasn't been a crash in the market for quite a while. So buying a home in the next 10 years for most people my age will be extremely difficult. Now, if you go to college, obviously that helps. It's very, very good because, well, college always ends up netting you more money, but I'll get to that in just a second. They will need to be in the perfect place at the perfect time. And this fact is very scary for someone like me because all around me, I have people in my life. Doug, I don't know where you are, but Doug's here, Ronnie, my parents. Hey, there's Doug. A bunch of people have told me that the best way to make recurring income all the time, every month, is own homes and rent it out to people or sell them. That's the best way to make money. But thinking about the fact that I probably won't be able to own a home in the next 10 years is tough, unless, of course, I go to college. But there are some downsides with that. Also, investments are good. College feels like a joke in a lot of scenarios. A total of 45.3 million borrowers have student loan debt. That is a pretty unfathomable number when you try to actually conceptualize it. The amount of football fields that would take is way too many, way too many. And 92% of them have federal loan debt, which no matter how you look at it, debt is bad, paying the government, not fun. This will take the majority of people 15 to 25 years to fully pay off, and that is strictly assuming that they actually go into the field that they, taught, or were taught rather, for 4 to like 10 years. And think that even means our doctors, the people who keep us alive, who save us, who make sure that we're, living daily. It'll still take them around 15 to 25 years sometimes, because it's just ridiculous. Now, I'm sorry in advance for this. We're kind of jumping subjects. We're going to be talking about church, because I like this church, and I don't like too many others. The church body, I think, is kind of a nightmare in general. Churches feel very shallow. A lot of the stuff, I've been to some other churches, they just don't really feel very genuine. A lot of them feel very kind of masky. You put your mask on, you go to church, and then you don't do much else when it comes to God. You don't really have a relationship. You just go to church to go to church. Pastors talk about the same topics every year. Now, I love Larry, but he kind of overdoes it, because even when I'm not working, I only actually remember like 40% of whatever he's talking about at any given time. So that's tough. But most pastors talk about stuff that like very, very new Christians don't know and they might want to know. And that's great because we do need that. But it's kind of everywhere and it's a little rare to really find people and pastors who put in a lot of passion and go super in depth. I'm gonna take a sip of water because I can. So, yeah, and then I don't know why, but like in semi-recent news, I don't know, over the past like 10 years, there have been a weird amount of times where churches have been found committing fraud, lying multiple times, and there's a lot of competition between churches, but not just churches, but also church people, which I guess kind of comes from the stigma that if you do better in the eyes of God, then you're gonna go to a better place in heaven. I don't get the idea. I wasn't raised that way, so I don't get it. A bunch of you probably have learned that, and now to you it probably seems silly because it is. Um, but yeah, even up in Woodland Park, there's a lot of competition between like 4 churches and then Caris, which isn't a church, but they're kind of close. And it's just kind of weird because it's not just like that here, it's in a lot of places. And I wish that it could be a little more relaxed and more just love God and love each other, and it would be a little better. But hey, whatever. Now, the age gap in churches is wild. 60% of people aged 65 and older report attending religious services at least once a week. Now, I don't know, but if you guys look in here, we're pretty good, actually. We do have some people over 65. You guys are doing good. Happy birthday, Meg. And then we do have some people who are a bit younger, 30s. I think that I'm the youngest person here who isn't a literal child. But yeah, as you can see, among 18 to 30-year-olds, just 28% go that often, which is super minimal. That's like a really, really small amount. And that's not even, this was actually taken off of Google from about 2 years ago. And that number, I'm pretty sure, has dwindled even more. It feels much lower in terms of younger people. I think older people are still reigning supreme in that percentage. And I want to kind of try to explain why, other than obviously the fact that a bunch of stuff has come out about fraud and lying and terrible things, right? Because that definitely makes people not want to go. Now, why is that the case? Some of it is probably the fact that the average attention span of a human is that of a goldfish. Now, I know that that sounds like a joke, but there was a study, and ever since TikTok became popular, people's attention spans have gotten very, very slim, and you can see it in a lot of things in advertisements. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on every 2 seconds because you need to keep the mind focused onto the ad or whatever you're trying to make content, whatever it may be. And so that is an actual fact. It might be a little better than a goldfish, but not by much. Other contributing factors is that it's just not very interesting normally. When you're told the same thing over and over again for 12 months and then another 12 months, it's kind of like school, right? With school, right, they teach you this stuff, and then 2 years later, they go a little more in depth. It's just that with churches, they don't go more in depth, and that's kind of an issue. Larry, as you guys know, goes very in depth. As I said before, he knows his stuff, and he does a ton of research for all people because, well, it helps. Yeah, it's Larry. But yeah, most people 20, my age, even like 25, don't really think that it's very interesting as shown by the numbers. It just, for them, it's just something that is a waste of time. It's a waste of a reason to get up in the morning on Sunday, or for us, Friday night. But anyway, yeah. So let's see, who made it that way? I don't know, but evolution of humanity, right? If we do something enough times, it kind of just becomes a part of a culture. And in the US, we like to make a lot of cultural differences, or at least we did. And now a lot of stuff is very set in stone. So yeah, I'm not too sure, but I do just think that it's been built up over time because it's been the same thing from the same pastors in the same churches, no matter where you go in the US. It's the same teachings on different months. and that's about it. But it's the same type of stuff. And sometimes you'll learn a couple new things, but I mean, if any of you have gone to a church for 5 years and you reflect, you've probably seen that a lot of the teachings are very similar, almost the same. Maybe a little bit different, but in reality, they get the same point across, and they do it very simply, very shallowly. So yeah, after enough time of the same teaching, it gets ingrained, which I think has also kind of happened with the Bible, which is okay to an extent, but if you read multiple Bibles, you'll know they are vastly different, and that's because people read a Bible, and then they want to make their own Bible, and then they make their own Bible, and it is completely different, and the verbiage and everything is very, very different, which Larry has taught you guys. So luckily, I don't have to do that, because I'm not good at that part. But yeah, so here are some pros and cons. I am legally allowed to go to fully nude strip clubs only. Do I know why? No. I Googled things that were good about being 20, not many, so it was a stretch. However, I am also able to be forced to possibly die for my country, which is weird to me. That doesn't really make that much sense to me, but hey. Some more stuff. I'm able to buy something that almost strictly kills me, tobacco. But I cannot buy alcohol, which can kill me, but also anything can kill you with the wrong moderation. But I just can't buy alcohol, but I can go get some cigarettes, and I can buy 6 packs and smoke them all in one day. So I don't really understand why that's the case, but it is. And let's see. I can vote, awesome. I can rent, very cool. I can get married, awesome. And best of all, I can sue people, so I can have lawsuits. That's one of my favorites, personally. I've never had a lawsuit, I'm glad. But I can also sign my soul away to a company, and they can take like 10% of my revenue every month for like 12 years of my life or something, depending on how terrible of a contract you sign. But I can't gamble. So I can throw my life away, but I can't have a chance at throwing it away. So that's really fun. And I can't rent a car, which kind of makes sense because 20-year-olds are kind of terrible drivers because I've only been driving for like 4 years, but I still don't know why I can sign my soul away, but I can't rent a car. It's a little weird to me. And yeah, so this is something that feels very specific to 2023, at least for me. I don't know, could be the same back in the day. I don't really know. I'm only 20, sorry. But sometimes it hurts being a man sometimes, being male. Because as a man, being younger, you're expected to lift weights or just work out, be strong, and make stuff happen, even if it seems impossible. And I'm sure that every man and a lot of the women, probably all of the women in here, can say that, yes, you've had those times where you do feel like something that you have to do is just impossible. It just can't be done. I'm sure that for many of you, there are many of those moments. I've had quite a few of those moments personally, and I'm only 20, so it's a little rough. And the idea is fantastic, but it really does drain you. The idea of being able to just do stuff no matter how difficult it may seem is fantastic, but doing stuff takes energy. And a lot of people don't like to talk about the mental energy that doing things takes. I like people, I like you guys. When I get home, I want to go to bed. I'm tired because I'm not a super social person. I do like people, but it is still, it drains my battery, it drains my energy. So I need to go home and I need to recoup. And some men are in a rough position where they always have to keep going and their battery is just constantly depleting so long. And then they finally get to a point where they break. And sometimes I say shatter because breaking is like sometimes still mendable. Shattering feels almost unfixable. But hey, God's cool, so he helps. Sometimes there's so many things going on in a man's head, but he has to put everything to the side for other people. It's very funny. I saw a mug that I wanted that said, let me put everything I have on my plate to the side for you and do your stuff. I wanted to get it, but it was like $20. It wasn't worth it. Not in this economy. But anyway, so yeah, and everyone has to do this, but so many men have to do this daily, nonstop, no break. I'm not going to exclude women here because they also have to deal with a ton of stuff. But as you'll see in a second, numbers heavily reflect that men do struggle a lot because they have to be go, go, go mode 100% of the time, all the time. getting 6 hours of sleep for months on end and just dealing with it because we're men. That's what we're told to do. That's what we've been told to do for a very long time. Unfortunately, it shows in the average suicide rates. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men in 2021. Men died by suicide nearly 4 times more than women. That is such a severe number to even think, because the number of women that die by suicide is not that high, but it's still high enough that it's scary that that number is not just equal or times 2, it's 4 times more. That is an incredible amount of people. On average, there are 132 suicides per day, and that number only goes up every year. That is a little scary for most people because it is a pretty high number, and that's all across the U.S., well, not just the U.S., all across the world, and that's counting men and women. And it's ridiculous. If you are struggling, please talk to anyone in Joyland. You guys seem like you're pretty good, but I do also know people who are depressed and do struggle with a lot of stuff, and it doesn't show to most people because they get out of bed, they do their day, and they're really drained, and it's a struggle. Every day is a struggle. Getting out of bed is tough. Eating, sometimes tough. Drinking water regularly, doing things that you need to do to survive, all very difficult things. Making a phone call to, I don't know, go to a doctor and get your health checked after you've had some itch in your side for 9 months, that's difficult, and that's why sometimes more problems can happen if you just let that go. So yes, I do want to reiterate, talk to someone at Joyland if you want to. Every one of us, very open. You can also message us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook message thing. Someone will reach out to you very quickly. But also, just talk to a friend, family member, whatever you want to do. Just anything, if you are feeling super bad about yourself or in general or about the world. Luckily, I'm very lucky to have people who remind me that things aren't terrible. I'm not super depressed, I'm good. But it's nice to still have the people who reiterate that things are pretty good for me.
Thank you, Riley.
Is that the full 30?
That is 20.
And that's 20. Awesome, we got questions. Yo, that timing
10
is
minutes
perfect.
for questions. That was very well executed in your
Awesome.
timing.
I've never even made a PowerPoint,
research.
so I was
You did really good with that.
Awesome,
so,
thank you guys.
All right.
So yeah, any questions?
I will give the mic to whoever wants to come ask a question.
Oh, let me skip so it's not just a picture of a random dude on a snowy step. Okay, there we go.
Riley.
Hi, Ronnie.
You're one of my favorites.
I'm glad.
If you were to summarize your whole talk, what would the main point be?
Things are tough. Things are difficult, no matter how old you may be, and stuff may look very bleak, and numbers may dwindle in every area. But that's okay, because there's still stuff to look forward to, and it's always worth staying. It is always worth staying, no matter what, and I want people to be aware of numbers and circumstances for people. That is the best way for me to sum it up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Would you say that you're a half glass full or half glass empty kind of person?
I would say that typically I'm a half glass half empty, normally. I've just had a lot of rough things that have happened in my life. I am 20 and I've been to 19 funerals, so I've seen a lot of death for kind of every possible thing. Friend of a friend, my girlfriend's mother at one point, just a lot of very different things, family members. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I do look at the world, and I do see that there's a lot of pain and suffering and anguish and terrible things going on. But I also know that I can try to somewhat make a difference and do what I can in my time, because I still have plenty of years, and I'm not trying to cut it short, because then that hurts everyone, including people who don't even know me. Not yet, at least.
Have you ever considered college?
I have. I actually was very confident that I was going to go to college until I was about 14, and then I decided there's nothing that's in college that I want to do.
So what do you think you're going to do for a career?
Don't know. Oh, I'm going to own a business. I already do own a business, and yeah, we made these, I made these shoes. They're pretty cool.
Oh, very cool.
But yeah, so being an entrepreneur, that's the best way to put it, I guess, because I have a lot of ideas for stuff.
Very cool.
How much longer do I have? Oh, perfect.
Riley, great job.
Thank you.
We know that you always had that in you. One of the things I can see from your presentation is that you really care, and you really care about people.
I do.
So I'm hoping that you follow through with that.
I try to.
Aside from business or what it might be for a profession, just to make yourself available. There's a lot of young people that just want to speak to other young people.
Yeah.
Not people my age, but people your age. So I hope you'll keep it up. Let that be known. It can be one-on-ones. You might not be comfortable in this environment, but one-on-ones would probably be your thing, right?
Yeah, one-on-ones are better for me, but
Yeah.
also I do live streaming stuff, and there are sometimes where people come into my chat and they talk about how terrible of a day they've had, and it's kind of a weird dynamic because I have to balance saying like I'm your friend versus I am here for you, but I don't know you, so I can't really
Yeah.
be your friend yet, but I will do what I can, and I will try to entertain you and make you happy
Yeah.
still.
Well, thank you for your good heart.
Yeah.
God bless you.
One thing that I would like to mention just really fast is, for those of you who do not know, June is actually Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I don't fault any of you if you didn't know that, because almost no one knows about that, but it was actually officially made the month of that, like, I don't know, like 40, 50 years ago by one of the presidents. Don't remember which one. I forgot to do my research on that, sorry. But yeah, so when June comes around, just try to make sure that, people are doing well, your friends, family, not just men, but also especially men, as you saw by the statistics and stuff.
Sounds great. Thanks, Riley.
So I heard somebody compare modern church to attending a bad play or poorly acted film every week.
Yeah.
On Wednesday night this week. So it hit kind of close to home. Any thoughts on how we can better engage a generation who doesn't necessarily want to do the same old thing because it's quote unquote right thing to do?
I think being more involved, and it's tough, right? Because the church body is very set in their ways, their teachings, their ideas, all of it, right? They follow one single Bible. Larry, he follows like 16, so it's Larry. But like other churches, other pastors, they're fine. It's all right, if you go to the churches. I don't blame you at all. There's no reason to blame you. You're loving God and hopefully loving people. But I think that as personal people, as Joylanders yourselves, the best thing that you can do is, this is going to sound crazy, go into a church and get on the leadership team. That is by far the best way, but also if you just want to talk one-on-one with someone or maybe with another family, I know that you have a family, so maybe there's a couple parents with a kid or even just one parent with a kid, and you want to try to help the parents understand a bit more rather than just the shallowness, the simplicity of it all. Because for most people, it really has just been ingrained that like, oh, well, I've been coming to this church for 12 years, I'm 18 now, and so now I'm just gonna keep going. But there's no reason. That's the issue, is that for them, there's no reason to go other than, well, it's just what I've been doing. Breaking habit is hard for people, and when you've been going to church every week on a Sunday, that's a habit that has been ingrained in you for 12 years, and that's really hard to break. So I think that the best thing is try to make people understand and realize that there's not just one way of thinking, because then they're gonna probably go off and do their own research as long as they care. Now, getting them to care more, that's a different story. It's a little harder, takes a bit more time, I think, but for the people who seem like they kind of care but kind of don't, I think that just talking to them one-on-one or as a family, I think is fantastic. As a Joylander yourself. For the rest of it, I'm not too sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hello,
Hi.
my name's Raven. You probably never met me.
Yeah, I don't know you at all.
So the men's mental health issue is something that is important and not talked about enough. And as a woman who is in my early 20s, I see double standards everywhere because I have struggled with mental health, and I mean, at times it's been very difficult to ask for help. But I've seen and lost friends who were male who didn't feel like they could
Yeah.
ask for help. And I see that everywhere. I see it coming from their parents. Like, if you're a man, you shouldn't have feelings. That's not your job. It's your job
Yes.
to be strong for your family. And so I've got two questions. One, as a man, I mean, I think it's lovely that you had the parents you did who taught you that your feelings are absolutely
Hey,
valid.
Mom, you're pretty cool.
Yeah, you're pretty cool. Thanks. But first question is, a lot of these people I know, you guys have children, and I don't know if your children have also dealt with the same feelings that a lot of the people in my generation have, where we might not feel comfortable going to our parents because we might feel like we're disappointing if we have to ask for help.
Yeah.
So what would your advice be to the parents here to make that a more broachable subject? And then second, what have your parents done for you to help you feel safe, bringing up your feelings, your emotions, and creating an environment where you can be honest and ask for help?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start by answering the second question because my mom will say this forever, basically. She read a book that's called Loving Your Kids on Purpose. And though it is called Loving Your Kids on Purpose, it is way better than just for kids. It's for loving people on purpose, not just saying that you love people because you love people. It teaches you how to make decisions on who to love, who you actually love, who you care about, rather than just saying, oh, well, I love this person because they're family or something. Because
Where to put your energy.
yeah, where to put your energy, where to put your time, where to put your care, where to put your love. And for some people, it's worth it, but for some people, it isn't. So one, I encourage you all to read that. I even need to read it. Yeah, Danny Silk. Yes, it is a Danny Silk book. Loving Your Kids on Purpose. Fantastic. According to her, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but hey, I turned out pretty well, and I'm talking here today. So, and then to answer the second thing, or I guess the first thing, read the book and just try to reach out every so often. Doesn't have to be a set time. Just try to think about it. And if you don't just randomly think about it, then do set a time. Do set a time every month, Wednesday, 2 p.m. on, I don't know, January. Set a time and just reach out to your children. And some of you have one child, like my mother, and some people have like 5 or 6. And so you have to approach it, and sometimes you gotta push a little bit. You don't wanna push too much, because then sometimes that'll push people away. But just try to be there, and if you were a very good parent towards the beginning, then I'm sure that they'll open up to you much easier. Oh, there's my time. I'll make the answer fast.
Well, I was going to actually say I would love a one-on-one with you.
Okay.
Because this one will take, I think, a little time. I have strong convictions that each generation that comes into the earth has a specific purpose. And so with all the things that you just talked about, and I have kids in your age bracket and a little bit older, I am constantly asking God, okay, what is the purpose for this generation in all of the things that seem unprecedented that you guys have to face?
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your thoughts about that sometime.
I will give you a one-word answer for now, because I got to keep it short. Chaos, which I know sounds weird, but that is my shortest, simplest answer right now. And I'm good.
Thank you, Riley. Appreciate it.
Good, good.
Thank you so much for saying yes and all the effort you put into that and answering questions. So that was great.